Let me show you guys how I make my absolute favorite pie for Thanksgiving. We're gonna start by going into a cup and a half of flour with about a tablespoon of sugar, along with a teaspoon of salt as well. Now into that, we're gonna grate in 10 tablespoons of frozen butter. Now using just our fingertips to make sure we don't melt that butter, we're gonna get it fully incorporated into that flour. And now we're ready to start working in about half a cup of ice water. And we're gonna go at it with a bench scraper until everything is nice and cohesive. Now once that dough just comes together, we're gonna get it wrapped up in some plastic and let it hang out in the fridge for at least an hour. Now after letting it rest in the fridge, we're gonna pound and roll out our dough to about 1/8 of an inch thick. And now we're gonna carefully use our rolling pin to get that transferred into our pie plate. I like to use my kitchen shears to go ahead and get rid of any excess crust. And now admittedly, I am not very good at this, but we're gonna do our best to make this thing look pretty. And now we're gonna toss this in the freezer to firm up for about 5 minutes. After letting that hang out in the freezer, we're gonna use a fork to poke some holes in the bottom. And for my pie weights, I'm just gonna be using some dried beans. And now we're gonna par bake this in a 400-degree oven for about 25 minutes. Now we're gonna very carefully pull out those pie weights, and we're gonna drop our oven heat to 325 before continuing to par bake this for another 25 minutes. Now during our second par bake, we're gonna start our filling by going into a saucepan with 2/3 a cup of heavy cream, along with 4 tablespoons of butter, and lastly a 1/3 cup of maple syrup. Now while that heats up on the stove, we're gonna go into a bowl with 4 large eggs, and then into those, we're gonna whisk in a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Now right when that cream mixture comes up to a simmer, we're gonna very slowly add it to our eggs to temper them. The last thing we want here is scrambled eggs. And now to this mixture, we're ready to go in with 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, just 1 teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of allspice, just 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground cloves, about a 1/2 teaspoon of freshly grated nutmeg, and now just 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. All we gotta do now is drop in our can of pumpkin puree and our filling is done. And now straight out of the oven, we're gonna go into our pie crust with all of our filling, and now this is gonna go right back into that 325-degree oven. Now after a little bit over an hour in the oven, our pie is gonna have a little bit of jiggle to it, and that's how you know it's ready to come out. And now for the hardest part of this recipe. Unfortunately, we do have to let this sit in the fridge to set overnight. And now the next day, our patient is gonna be rewarded with the absolute best pie you can have on Thanksgiving. Get this served up with some homemade whipped cream, and our pumpkin pie is ready for the table. All right, cheers everybody.